Shield, Robert Snipes, Regina Frankie, Randy Schwinn. I'm here. Mark Gilbert, here. Stephanie Gonzalez, Sherry McDaniel, Nick Sherman, Stephen Fonville, James Forcell, Doris Stubing, Mabel Vaughn, Keith Steffen, and Mike Andrews. Thank y'all. We have a quorum. I thank all of you for being in presence. I tell this regularly to the executive committee. I really appreciate everyone's time. It takes a lot to get you out here and listen. I appreciate y'all coming here and being a part. This has been well attended for the last, well, let's say 18 months or so. It seems like it's been well attended, and I appreciate that and appreciate the effort y'all put into it. So thank you very much. We'll move into item 3, invocation, and Mr. Andrews agreed to give us our invocation and show that Mr. Gilbert has arrived.
We'll listen with our ears, mind, and heart. And the decisions we make this evening consider the resource use of the provider. Thank you for writing this. Appreciate it being explained. Safe travel, please forward for all of us back to our company's office. In your name is right. Amen.
Thank you, Mike. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, item 4, announcements. The Board of Trustees of the Canyon Regional Water Authority may during the meeting close the meeting and hold an executive session pursuant to in accordance with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, i.e. the Texas Open Meetings Act. The Board of Trustees may at any time during the meeting close the meeting and hold an executive session for consultation with its attorneys concerning any of the matters to be considered during the meeting pursuant to Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. Any announcements? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll move on to item 5, public comments. The comments, 5A, comments on non-agenda items. There'll be no discussion from the board. There's a 3-minute time limit. Did anyone register for public comment? Okay, hearing none. Item 5B, comments on specific items on this agenda. Discussion with the board may be allowed. A 3-minute time limit per citizen, and that time may not be shared or ceded to another citizen. So anyone here for public comment on specific agenda items? Okay, hearing none. Thank you very much. Item 6, consent items. We've got 2 items here. Item 6A is the approval of the minutes for the July 14th, 2025 meeting that were tabled last month, and the August 11th, 2025 minutes from last month's meeting. We also have item 6B, which is the financial and check register reports only for the month of August. Y'all approved July last month. Ms. Stubing, I think you said you'd like to pull the minutes. Okay. Okay. Do you so move to pull them? Do we, I'm sorry. Okay, you want to pull the minutes, both minutes? Okay. So you want to pull both minutes, but the financial you're okay with? Can we get a, yeah, can we get a motion to approve the financials and then we can go through the minutes? Thank you. Second. No second. Any other discussion on the financial? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, Mr. Gilbert. Mr. Gilbert is not opposed. He was saying aye. Okay, back to the minutes for the July and August meetings. Will you turn your mic on for Mr. Gilbert?
In reviewing the minutes for July and August, I found so many errors, so many incorrect words, so many sentences running together, so much sentences that didn't make any sense. So I would like to pull the minutes for July and August and have them revised. And once again, I would like to request that our secretary of the board review the minutes before they come before the board so that they're in proper order for approval.
Do you have substantive comments, like comments that change the makeup of the minutes, or are they pretty much just grammatical in nature?
A lot of grammatical, a lot of incorrect words used, a lot of words that, a lot of sentences in here. I don't know what they mean. And let me see if I can, I don't know if I can find one real quick.
Is any of it content or is it all of it grammar? What
No, it's contents. I have it marked up if you want to look at it.
Could you and I meet sometime between this meeting and the next meeting and go over them?
Be glad to.
Okay.
And Mr. Rohan, I had also spoke to Carrie about this earlier. I had taken a much deeper dive into the minutes than I had previously. I don't know how anyone can remember what exactly was said from a month ago. I tried to go to the website and review the recording, and it's not posted yet. Carrie and I spoke about it, but that would help me. And maybe this is an opinion question. I don't know if this is the moment to talk about it. Before we approve the minutes, the recording, it is what it is, whether we approve a written document or not. So I think it's something that we could go ahead and post to help at least me review the minutes so that we know what the content, if there is content errors, maybe what's written down is exactly what was said, but I can't verify that. So Carrie, whoever you've got doing that, I know we talked a little bit earlier. Does anybody have a problem if we get those posted before this physical document is approved? Because it would help me review it.
I don't necessarily have an issue with the meeting being put on the website. It used to be put on the website before. Does anyone else have concerns about having
that would help me tremendously, because I tried to spend a fair bit of time looking at it because it was a bigger deal last month. And there was no way for me to review and make sure it was spot on, word for word correct. So I don't know how we can review it, or Mr. Gibbs can review it if we don't have the recording to listen to.
No concerns about that. But Carrie, you and I talked about getting them caught up for the last few years.
Yes.
Do we have a time frame for when that's going to happen?
I'd like to get it done in the next couple of months. Hannah's actually back today, and I did relieve her of having to come to the board meeting, having to spend, a long day. She does have a new baby at home, but that's one of the things that she's going to be.
From this meeting, you can work it back to the group.
Yes, sir.
That way, if anybody needs to recruits it, it's more fresh.
Yes, sir. That's one.
Will you turn your mic on, please? So
I'm sorry. That's one of the things that she's going to be working on, is getting all that caught up on the website as soon as possible.
Mr. Chairman, I didn't hear anybody objecting to having them posted up. Okay, so is there a motion to table or approve the minutes?
Make a motion to table.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on the minutes? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Doris, thank you for looking through them. We'll meet up sometime in between the meeting and talk about them. Okay, we'll move on to item 7, reports, water supply facility operations and capital projects. This is discussion on current drought conditions, wholesale water supply status, water treatment, storage and transmission operations, current and near-term capital improvement projects.
And so on the drought conditions, the water supply status, treatment, storage and operations, you should have been inclusions in the packet for that information. Does anybody have any questions, or do we need to go over that? I don't want to talk about the capital projects that are in construction. I'd rather wait until Mr. Sherman does his construction committee report. But I can talk about some of the projects. At Hayes Caldwell, the mobile membrane unit, the second unit, is now in operation. Paul was here last week, and we've got that up and running. Also, the first 30-day cycle of the pilot studies started last week. And so I guess they break it into 3 30-day segments, but the first one is underway for that. And then we do have an agenda item for exec session to talk about the situation with the city of San Marcos. Any questions on those items for Hayes Caldwell? Wells Ranch, we have had some discussions. Right now, we're kind of doing some coordination with the member entities to determine the best path forward. We've got the Wells Ranch 3 project, also the Bloomberg project that we're looking at. 2 of our entities have requested to be disassociated with the Wells Ranch 3 project. That's Maxwell and County Line. There's in our general business, we have some items to talk about that. But then our next discussion meeting has been scheduled for September 15th to do planning for Wells Ranch moving forward. Any question on Wells Ranch?
You want to give them a quick update on the emergency repairs y'all made today?
Yes. So we had the flange that was failing at the water treatment plant. We sent out a notification last week that we were going to be replacing that. They started that work this morning and finished that work a little bit before 5. So the water is back on at Wells Ranch now. So everything went pretty well with that work. I think Mr. Gage was out there with him, helping him out. So that work is done.
And it's still okay?
Yes, sir.
Still out there?
Yeah.
Okay, other questions for staff on item 7A? Okay, thank you. Item 7B, External Affairs, Regional Planning, Administrative Reports. So discussion on regional partnerships, regulatory agencies, groundwater districts, regional water planning, long-term capital improvements, legal and legislative matters. We do have a focused advocacy here, so I'll let them go ahead and come up first and introduce themselves before we get on to our other topics in item 7B.
Perfect. Thank y'all. Mr. Chairman, board members. My name is Snapper Carr. I'm a partner and general counsel with Focused Advocacy, and have our other business partners. I'm gonna have them come up and introduce themselves here in just a little bit. We've been engaged with y'all now for just about a month. We got to know y'all a little better through the process that y'all used for your RFP process, and it got us a little better. But we wanted mainly tonight, one, to introduce ourselves and to kind of give a hint of some of the work that we've started with y'all's staff and with the entity, and a little bit about what the legislature's been doing. Thankfully, we can report that they're not in session. And as of a little after midnight last Wednesday, they adjourned sine die for the second special session, but we'll give you a little preview of some of the stuff that is now coming up to for the interim, and kind of our plan of attack that we look to engage with y'all on. It is a ongoing process to get y'all ready, and then hopefully can pursue some of the initiatives that y'all want to look for the next legislative session. Certainly don't have to tell y'all that water is a topic that is always near and dear to the legislative hearts and elected officials and their constituencies. And so, and we have some stuff coming up with that. So Curtis, would you like to come up and introduce yourself real quick?
I'm an attorney and a former politician, so you never pass the opportunity at the mic. So, and I like your applause when the legislature is out of session. That's always better. But my name's Curtis Seidlitz. I've been around this process a long time. As I mentioned, I'm an attorney by training through Baylor University, and prosecuted for several years, practiced law for several years. And then I got an idea to run for the legislature. Don't get that idea, but I did it for 10.5 years, got some good fortune to work with a lot of great people, and chaired state affairs, which was a pretty big committee back then. We did telecom and electricity. Then I ended up going to work for a statewide association, the Association of Electric Companies of Texas, which was the ERCOT and non-ERCOT companies, investor-owns all across the state. So I did that for a couple of 3 years, and then I went to work for TXU out of Dallas, the giant electric company, and did that for several years until we sold out. And then I retired from there, but started a practice with Focused Advocacy, doing legislative consulting. And Brandon and Snapper came along a couple of 3 years later. And we've been very fortunate to have a lot of long-term clients. And what we try to pride ourselves on, and what I want y'all to think about, is that we try to be reflective of what you want to do, and managing expectations. and identifying issues. And our expertise is how to work that system if it can be worked, but it's knowing what to do, what not to do in many cases. And then it's a lot about establishing relationships. And one of the things that we will do as we go through a planning process the next 30 days is to find out what kind of relationship do we have with those members in this organization. Do they know who we are? When you pick up the phone, do they listen to you? You know, it's a lot different than when I started in the legislature, where the mayor or the county judge or somebody from a special district called and said, jump. And I said, how high? But it's not exactly that way now. So we have to really work on that. So we'll try to help y'all through that. And we just want to make sure where we want to go and how we're going to get there. And we're here to help you and work as hard as we can. Thank you. Brandon?
Hi, I'm Brandon Agamelian. It's a pleasure to be here. Appreciate the opportunity to start to work with the organization here. A little bit about me. I'm from the Fort Worth area originally. Came down here, attended school at what was then Southwest Texas University in San Marcos, and then moved up the street to Austin. Have been in the area now for about 32, 33 years. Went to work for the city of Fort Worth after I left working in the legislature, was an assistant city manager for several years in Fort Worth, working primarily as the city's lobbyist, both in Austin and in Washington, D.C. Left the city of Fort Worth and then went into private practice with Snapper with the intent of representing cities and local government entities such as yourself. Have a fairly extensive amount of background working with special districts, both creating them in law through the legislative process, much like y'all were created, and or amending them and working generally on the legislative piece of how special districts like yours operate. I live in Austin, married, 3 kids, and very active in our community back home. Dovetailing on what Kurt just said in terms of you know how we tend to operate and where this is going with y'all. One, we take our, as Kurt said, we take our marching orders from you. We don't make up your agenda for you. We've got to get direction, and we've got to get clear direction from you. And so I think that's a part of the relationship and the process we'll work through. But the other thing that I would suggest or remind y'all of is that this is a long-term relationship. We have enjoyed very, very long-term relationships with our clients, some going on 20 plus years now. And really those are our most productive relationships, because we have the opportunity then to really learn more about you. We were able to go through transitions that you go through, because you'll inevitably go through transitions in terms of leadership, who's on the board, who's not, staff, whatnot. And your issues will change too, and they'll morph over time. And so we hope to be a consistent in that process of variables, and that we can be a voice for you and your advocate and your boots on the ground, so to speak, in the legislative process, day after day, week after week, year after year. Happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I'll turn it back to Snapper to kind of get into the weeds of both what we've been up to and where things are going. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I guess I was remiss. I should have said, I can use the line that my mom sometimes laughs at, not many other people, but I can tell folks I'm a lawyer. They think better of me than if I say I'm a lobbyist. And that's a tough trick when you're starting out. And the lawyer's the good part. But we've all three worked in and around the Capitol. I started up there when I was 19 years old, and Curtis was my hometown state rep. And our goal is to, as Brandon said, to help establish y'all and y'all's issues to be front of mind when you're not only your delegation, but the committees that have say over water policy and your issues that you're faced with and your own entities and this entity as a whole. And so with that, I wanted to give a little bit, we mentioned kind of the onboarding process that we've started. We've had a few calls with your staff and legal counsel to get a better understanding of some of the areas that y'all have going on right now. And of course, how those fit within some of the state discussions. And then we're also doing a deep dive and something I think we will certainly develop as we move through this now that we have an actual interim process that will start off now that they're out of session. And that's looking at your enabling statute and really understanding some of the nuances or things that y'all might like to see improved or changed. The other big facet of policy area that we pretty immediately will start seeing discussion in, and that is on what the two respective committees in the legislature, in the Senate, that's the Water and Rural and Ag Affairs, and that's chaired by a gentleman out of Lubbock named Senator Charles Perry. And then on the House side, the Natural Resources side of things, that committee, which again, y'all can have items in other committees, but those, of course, are the ones that are tasked with oversight over y'all's major policy areas and major issues. Chairman Harris is out of Cody Harris is out of the East Texas region. And that's probably a good spot to say, although the special session was on, ended up being a proclamation of 20 items, 16 of which passed. Not a lot initially was focused on water issues. Got a very big water session, as y'all may have followed along. We had some firsts from the regular session, and one of those items, which will be to, I think, better position y'all as we go forward, kind of talks about that, and that is the issue of funding of water supply, wastewater issues. The legislature, in case y'all weren't following this as closely as normal, typically, and we've again been up for multiple decades at this point, it is very atypical up until this last session for what we could refer to as earmarks or direct funding in the state budget, where I can go, oh, there's the so-and-so water project, in the state budget by name. That's very rare. It only happened, I probably count the times that happened on one hand in several decades of prior work. That model changed after, and the governor kind of staked this out in his State of the State speech early on in session, that he wanted a Texas size investment. There had already been, because of the budget surplus, that there was going to be a substantial amount of substantial amount of funding put into water through the Water Development Board processes, through new funds and programs that were being discussed and contemplated, particularly by Senator Perry, that he had talked about leading up to the interim. And again, it is atypical, but we also saw entities. We saw entities like the city of Houston take over $1 billion of directed requests to the legislature. That is atypical. Again, we did not see that. And so we didn't know how the legislature would respond to that. And for the longest time, I'll be honest with you, there was a debate about how to do this, about how to fund it. And at the end of the day, they did decide to fund projects by name, by earmarks. They also put a great deal of money into new funds as well. And y'all probably, many of you know, and this will start being more. I was on a call this morning with about a group of 60 different opinion leaders in this space to discuss Prop 4, which will be on the ballot in November. Proposition 4 will be the dedication of 10 years and $1 billion a year, if you will, of dedicated sales and use tax from the state treasury to the Water Development board funds for water projects. And so that's the governor had called for a $10 billion investment that would be paid out over 10. That, of course, has to pass in November. If not, that allocation would not be effective. But so you'll start to hear a lot more, I think, about that discussion and kind of what it could mean for Texas. Moving forward, as we start to look to, I mean, and there are some questions about, well, is every session going to now be one where we consider direct requests instead of it going through the normal route of agency funding or some other means without state participation issue, even for those projects that are in the state water plan. And so I think, you know, no pun intended here, it's hard once the floodgates have been opened, it's hard to put that genie back in the bottle. And I think what we, in our experience, would say is we do think you need to be prepared to have a, you know, request a seat at the table, have your funding items ready to go before next session, and in the interim to give you a better chance at consideration for those. And I'll go ahead and say this too, because I know funding is always an important topic in public utilities and infrastructure. It's also the most non-transparent, intransparent part of budgeting and the financial aspects of the state budget in that appropriations process. Is very different from even the legislative process. So if we have a bill to amend your enabling statute in some way, that's pretty straightforward. We can tell you how that's going to go. There is a lot of behind the scenes, even members that have been in the legislature a long time don't fully know how the final decisions and what gets funded and what doesn't in the state budget. And so really what Brandon used a term of kind of dealing with the variables that we can kind of deal with and just game planning for response for items that might be curveballs that we would see in that process. And really the work that we have started on now and what we will do with y'all and with staff is to prepare in this off-season interim to put y'all in the position to be there. And a lot of that will be developing, Brandon mentioned, and Kurt mentioned, kind of developing and bolstering, if you will, the relationships within your own legislative delegation for y'all's entities. You got to kind of have some of those folks thinking and wanting to go, well, what effect does this have on Canyon Regional Water Authority when some of these debates are happening, and to reach out to us and y'all to get that input. And we'll, of course, proactively do that too. And that's probably where I will jump off to the next item. In the special, I mentioned that started off, we didn't really have water items per se. Big regular session, a lot of going on from that in those discussions, certainly in funding, but also policy discussions about things. And the one that I'm going to bring up is that of export of water from region to region. It's been something that I worked on Senate Bill 3, which established the state water plan process that we currently have. And even at that time, conflicts between regions and export, particularly between East Texas and North Texas, were front and center in those debates. And we saw during the special, the governor added a very specific and narrow item about a groundwater project that in East Texas, it's very public, but the Bass family, Kyle Bass out of Dallas, and it's very significant holdings and purchased a ranch that has very significant aquifer and water supply underneath it, and has proposed a high capacity well field development that would ship 16 billion gallons of water from that East Texas area annually to the North Texas region via pipeline. And that topic has got added to the call. House Bill 27 was the bill that was filed by Cody Harris, the chairman, which this is also in his district and in his region. And so it got added, and that was really then, and he held, even before this was added to the call back in July, right before we got signed up with y'all, there was a 15-hour hearing on this topic that both he and Chairman Perry, it was a House committee hearing, but the Senate chairman sat through the entirety of it as well did a number of members of the Senate. It was on this very topic. Now, this is the one that has garnered the attention. I will tell you over the years, export issues have been front and center. And I think we will see a very, very significant discussion about that again over the interim. So HB 27 got filed and it did two things. It required studies of groundwater exports, kind of an elevated study requirement, trying to get, because there's some competing science that was being thrown around at the hearings and different things for the support of the application and against. So that topic, kind of led to that the bill and the main component piece that Chairman Harris had in his bill was a moratorium on issuances. And that passed pretty overwhelmingly in the House with the moratorium. Senator Perry was not in support of flat moratorium. And so he wasn't going to advance the bill. And ultimately, the Senate removed that moratorium requirement, and it was just a study bill, if you will. They couldn't work out the differences, so it passed both chambers, the bill. They couldn't work out that one pretty major difference. And ultimately, Chairman Harris killed his own bill at the closing of this second special session. Gave a very long kind of speech about that in the process of doing it. Had a lot of support from members around the state. There's just by an aside, there's an open Senate seat for that area now. Senator Nichols, a longtime senator, former mayor, is retiring. State Rep Trent Ashby is announced that he will be running his place. This very important issue, obviously, to that district, very front and center. And so Chairman Harris and Chairman Perry have indicated we are going to have interim hearings. We're going to have on a multitude of topics. There were some other bills that got filed that weren't on the call that were related to water, that were pretty draconian and candidly probably things that are unworkable, that are aimed at killing projects that would prevent political subdivisions from owning certain property outside of their jurisdiction, including that for, like, real property for pipelines or things needed for water transport. That sort of draconian measure, although it gets some attention, are not really things that I think overall the state thinks they can support. They know that we have to have a reasonable solution to how we deal with, but in particular, groundwater will have that special extra focus on it and its impact to the region. That's going to be a major item. And then funding, as we said, of this and implementation, especially if Senate bill or Prop 4 passes, which typically those propositions have been. This isn't a new tax. It's an earmarking of the first $1 billion. Get my numbers right. I think after the state collects $42 billion in taxes, and sales tax, then that billion gets earmarked, and the legislature can't change or reappropriate that per this constitutional amendment for a period of 10 years. And so it's pretty big endeavor, and it certainly opens up a lot of discussions. So that's kind of where the legislature's been. We mentioned that we're kind of in still the onboarding process with y'all, but one of the first steps that we think we need to undertake, and this involves y'all's help too, is for us to establish. We've already gone by the offices during the special and said, hey, we're very proud that we're going to be working with Canyon Regional Water Authority, letting their chiefs of staff know, talking to the members if they're available. I will tell you, they were all very much ready to get out of Austin and to be gone for a while. So they're not always real happy to see us, since we've been bugging them since about November of last year, straight through on session items. But but letting them know that we're here and they can call upon us as some of these, but really establishing after we give them a chance to get back home and to have meetings with your elected official delegations as kind of a kickoff of this process with y'all that we would arrange and whether those be in district or at the Capitol, if that's the most easy, but to kind of start that process to really hone in on your members and kind of what their view is and to, again, tell them that y'all are taking a proactive role in this space and want to identify the opportunities that are going to be present. There'll be some challenges, but I think overall there's going to be more opportunities in the water policy area and funding areas than there are things that are problematic and challenging. There'll be plenty of those, but I think those will be outweighed by the opportunities that are going to be here over the course of this next interim. We did a lot with sports analogies and championships. And successful legislative endeavors happen in the off season. They happen when their legislature's not down in Austin, and you can develop a plan and do your outreach, have all your facts together, have the reasons why y'all's project should be considered for funding, for example. And really that part of it is us, again, working hand in glove. We see ourselves as extensions of your staff and are here to support them and then bring that knowledge that we have of the water policy area that happens down in Austin, and then how some of these decisions interact in the politics that affect them. And, we have a pretty good track record of helping folks do that, but it's very much a team effort, and it's very much, we'll come back and report to y'all regularly and interact, but those conversations will probably, just be a snapshot of what we have going on as we work in between those reports with staff and try to keep y'all updated too. Y'all start getting some of our generalized newsletters, which are general, have a lot of city discussion too, because we represent a lot of cities but then we'll also be having reports to y'all that are more specific as it relates to the items that y'all are interested in and that we're, hoping to advance for y'all, whether that be in funding or, operational amendments that y'all might have.
Well, we're looking forward to working with you. I know that. And if any of y'all have some issues that are concerning your own systems, please let us know. That way we can get that information up and make sure that the information getting provided back to us is relevant and helpful to you all. Do y'all have any questions? Thank you for coming down here and spending some time with us to explain what y'all were seeing here in the 2 special sessions. I think you're right. Everyone's ready to go home and get a little bit of rest. So
the governor did unfortunately tease. He said, stay tuned. So the response back from some of the members were, we have families and jobs and we might need to go see them for a little bit. But, only the governor gets to call those special sessions, of course, and only the governor gets to decide what's considered in them as well. But again, I want to thank y'all. We're very excited and look forward to our relationship with y'all in advancing, and kind of our goal always especially with folks like yourselves that have such a deep understanding of topics in the policy areas and water, is to get y'all established to be kind of the go-to, so that when these legislative offices have these things come before them, whether they're on the committee of jurisdiction or not, they're thinking about how this might affect y'all and how they might could be helpful for y'all too.
Thank you, sir. Any
thank y'all.
questions?
Yeah, I have just a real quick question.
Yes, sir.
Have you seen any kind of groundswell opposition to Prop 4?
No, we haven't. And there were a lot of, like I said, pretty broad section on that, on the call this morning, a statewide call, folks that were supporters, industry, private sector folks and certainly public folks as well. And we have not seen that, but I think just given the environment we're in, and we're talking about, it does say the word $10 billion and the word taxes does show up in it. We make sure that, that they understand the public understands what it is.
Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you. You're welcome to stay the rest of the meeting. You're welcome to leave. Either way won't hurt our feelings.
Appreciate
Thank
y'all.
you.
We look forward to it.
Okay, we'll move on to, we'll continue on with item 7B. Thank you again. Okay, I think it's on you now.
All right.
Regional.
Couple of updates on 7B. So we did attend the last regional meeting, and on August 28th, we had put in comments. We had 3 requests for the regional water plan.
Will you turn your mic on, please?
Sorry.
For the regional water plan, the biggest one was that the water for Wells Ranch 3, the 14,500 acre feet, there was an error made in the modeling, and it was not being shown to be in Gonzales County. It was in Guadalupe County. That was the most important one to us to get changed in the plan to reflect the correct, amount in Gonzales County. That was approved by the Regional Committee. We had 2 other requests. One was to update the cost estimate for the project, and the other was to update the participating members for the project. There were some members shown in there that are no longer in Wells Ranch 3, some that weren't in there that needed to have been added, and that group, the makeup of the group has changed some since then. Neither of those requests were approved. We missed the deadlines on making those requests. So we will have to, at a later date, request an amendment on those. But like I said, the main one was getting that allocation changed, and that was approved. The next planning group meeting for Regional is October 2nd. I don't really have anything of note to add to that. Mr. Ramos, did you have anything you wanted to add for Regional?
No, I just the plan's going to be adopted on October 2nd, but going back to the participating members, I think one of the things that Regional recognizes is that if you change some of the members, you may put some of the entities, in particular Converse, would be at a deficit, meaning they can't meet their demands. And so the committee and the consultant felt that it would be a disadvantage for Converse, and we don't have enough time to reach out to Converse and say, are you going to meet that? So that's one of the reasons that was denied, was because it would put a burden on Converse. So everybody understands.
Thank you very much. Any questions on Regional? On the groundwater management area 13, they did have a meeting recently. Mostly the discussion was around the groundwater availability model. That is due to the Water Development Board by September 15th. I think they are ready to submit it, although there might be some things to work out. Is that correct, Chelsea, on that? So they're still working on it some. They are planning to submit it September 15th. The next regular scheduled meeting for GMA 13 is October 10th at 10 a.m. The Gonzales Groundwater District, we did attend a workshop that they hosted with the exporters on Friday of last week. The discussion really centered around a lot about the budget. There's some line items in the budget that were added, and all the exporters still have questions about the budget, centering around these, planned increases in export fees. And where's that money going to go? So one of the things that I think all the exporters were in consensus on is the groundwater district was talked about possibly doing away with the mitigation fund and just having us pay one export fee and all the mitigation be taken from that pot of money. We expressed a lot of concern with that. And I think most of it was centered around the optics of it. We prefer that to be, there's a separate mitigation fund identified that's being used to mitigate wells. They gave us some numbers where there, possibly there could be millions and millions of dollars that need to be spent on either mitigating wells or abandoning wells. They also included discussion about mitigating potentially oil wells. We're not real clear on this. I don't think any of us would be in favor of that, mitigating oil wells with this money. Nor do I think any of us would be in favor of mitigating water wells in the Lost Pines groundwater district. They were discussing the possibility of talking to that district about using our mitigation fund to mitigate wells in their district, largely due to proximity. And I don't think anybody's going to be in agreement with that either. There's still stuff, nothing's decided yet. What they would like for us to do is migrate away from having a negotiated export fee and migrate towards being in the group with everybody else where everybody just pays the same fee. We'd have to have more discussion on that, and there's more discussion to be had with the groundwater district. I think that's capturing all the big ticket points, isn't it, Chelsea? We actually had a follow-up meeting with the other exporters and legal folks this morning. And what we had discussed was writing a letter to the district, a joint letter from the agencies. That's of course with the board's approval. Canyon Regional will be part of this joint letter so that we can kind of have a stronger sense of solidarity and where we stand on these issues. We do have a draft of that letter being circulated. We would like to finalize it and send it to the district tomorrow during the day because they have another groundwater district meeting tomorrow evening. One of the items on their agenda is approval of the next fiscal year's budget. So we do want to get our comments in, before that meeting, if possible. Chelsea or Graham, anything I missed that needs to be added to that? So I guess my question for the board is, are we okay with sending a joint letter? It would be from all the exporters. And we would even like to reach out to SAWS and get their take on this and see what your thoughts are on it. And see if you would support that as well. So.
Will you get us a copy of the letter by email?
Certainly.
Thanks.
Anyone have heartburn, Mr. Sherman?
I was just going to say, has the executive committee seen the letter? Do we have any idea what's in the letter that we're sending last minute tomorrow?
We can send it out to you before the end of the night. It's the draft was done early this afternoon, so it's just now been drafted today.
Have Trey or Ruben been able to review it?
No, sir. It has not been.
Is the letter intending to bind us to any specific course of action, or is it only to address concerns?
Just to address concerns. It's not offering anything, or we're just saying here's our concerns.
I think being the general manager, you have the discretion to do that. So I don't know why you're asking us. I mean, I think you should do what you need to do.
Okay.
In the past, that's typically how we did business here.
Well, that's
because a lot of times you can't get everybody to meet, and so you got to make a decision.
Yeah, I agree. That's where I was getting at. If we're not binding Canyon Regional to any specific course of action or some kind of financial obligation or some other kind of obligation, if we're just kind of, using the expertise of our staff, it makes a ton of sense to me that you have the latitude to do so.
okay. Understood.
Okay. Okay, other items? Guadalupe County?
Guadalupe County, not really much new to report. We still have communication and coordination ongoing with the Bright property and dealing with those wells. We did receive a total of 8 letters from the developer requesting permission to drill wells on the lots that they have not sold. We think this is just a legal strategy. They're just going through the motions. And we will put those letters on the agenda next month for consideration by the board. The next meeting for Guadalupe is actually Thursday of this week. Alliance Regional, all the temporary facilities to get the plant up to full production have been installed and are I think we had one down, or is that one operational now too, Graham?
It's operational.
Yeah, but we're at near full capacity now. We have had some internal discussions to strategize on pursuing reimbursement from design engineers, and also have had some meetings. We had a meeting last week with GBRA and with legal teams from both parties to talk about our plan and our path forward to recouping these costs. Some more to come on that. There was a solicitation released for a CMAR for the expansion of the facility. We have received those response statements and have the selection committee formed. Whoops, my notes got cut off there. We're looking for final selection on these 2 Mondays from now, before the next CRWA board meeting to make a selection on the.
And Carrie, you're on that selection committee, right?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
He was voluntold to be on that selection committee.
Yeah. And then the next board meeting for CRWA is scheduled for September 24th.
Okay, any questions on item 7B? We'll move on to item 7C, committee and board of managers reports. We'll start with the executive committee. The executive committee met to discuss the agenda. We're working on changing around when our meeting's held. Those of you who don't know, September 1st, the rule changed for agenda posting. You now have to post agendas 3 business days in advance rather than just 72 hours in advance, which for a Monday night Keenan Regional meeting means a Tuesday posting. Due to the weekend being in the way. And if there's a holiday, it also throws us off even further. So we're coordinating that, making sure that staff's got the agenda to us in time and we're able to review the meeting, review the agenda in enough time to get it posted. I think there's still a little bit of discrepancy on exactly what the state meant by 3 business days. Hopefully we'll get clarity over the next 2 years.
So Brandon, I have a question because I noticed it was late. Wasn't it late this time, the posting of the agenda?
No, I think it was Tuesday.
Was it Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
It was in compliance with the law.
Yeah. It was Tuesday, yeah.
Maybe my snail mail.
So that everybody
All these
knows,
emails.
so that everybody knows, most of the attorneys around the state are taking the position that 3 business day means you don't count the day of the posting, you don't count the day of the meeting, you have 3 actual business days. Extended if you have a holiday within those 3 business days, but it's 3 clean business days. In case you all did not get the word through your respective trade organizations, that's what it is. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
So Ruben, if you post an agenda at 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon, you don't start counting 72 hours from when you post?
Not anymore. You gotta have 3 clean days.
You don't count Saturday or Sunday, naturally.
You do not count Saturday or Sunday.
Right, but you,
But for a Monday meeting like we have, you're gonna have to count Friday, Thursday, Wednesday as a
Right.
3 clean business days. So that means you gotta post on Tuesday.
so we have a meeting on Wednesday, and so we post on Friday.
Correct. No, you would have to post on Thursday. So Friday, Monday, Tuesday.
Right.
Remember, you don't count the day of the posting. That would be Thursday. Then you have Friday, Monday, Tuesday. Then you have your meeting date on Wednesday. So Friday, Monday, and Tuesday would be your clean 3 business days.
Thank you.
Okay. Budget committee is taking a break and catching their breath. The budget committee didn't have a meeting, right, Sherry?
We didn't have a meeting this month, because we already voted on the budget, so we haven't had any follow-up. I don't know when you want to start our quarterly ones.
Whenever you're refreshed and ready to hit the ground running on the next one.
Well, I think we should have one before the end of the year.
Definitely.
Okay,
Yes.
we'll discuss that.
Okay. Construction committee, Mr. Sherman.
Yes, sir. First of all, I must apologize. I sent the wrong version of my notes that I hadn't gone back through to check the punctuation and capitalization. Surprised Ms. Dubin didn't point me out here, but I'm going to self-report. I apologize. So first off, a couple projects we've got with UEG, same contractor, some I-10 work and 1518 work that's been bogged down. Those are back up and moving. Contractor is mobilized on the I-10 crossing, and they were getting their materials in. So that's up and moving again, substantially late project. That's something we've been discussing at great length in the construction committee, the substantially late nature of this project. Same contractor on 1518. Generally, it's basically done. We're just waiting for grass to grow, basically. So I think we're going to be closing that out. But again, that's a substantially late project. Another of the I-10 expansion, there was an additional conflict that was discovered. We refer to it as the Channel D conflict. That will be another fully reimbursable by TxDOT. It's not an emergency. We're getting plans together. We said first quarter of 26 for that project to go to bid, but that will be fully reimbursable. And the big pipeline one for the Hayes Caldwell, we're still working on a couple of easements at time of the construction committee. Is there any update on that, or do we want to not talk about any?
One of those easements, we did finalize the language on. The landowner's attorney just has to get the landowner a clean copy and get their final approval. But the other one, did we get anything back from Walton, Ruben?
Not yet. I was actually going to give a quick report.
Will you turn your mic on up, please?
So sorry. I was going to give a quick update on the Reedville pipeline project, 7 easements. We have 4 signed. 1 will be signed in the next 2 or 3 days. So that's 5 that remain. Leaves 2. Of those 2, we've got about 98% agreement on the language. So I suspect we're not going to need to do any condemnations on these easements. And I think we're going to be able to get them here by the end of the month. So that frees Carrie to start advertising for bids.
Then as of the construction committee meeting, when we were discussing it, we're still on track to meet the deadlines that are in the wheeling agreement to make everything, all the schedule information work right. So we need to press forward, pay attention to that project, but that's looking good. Moving on to Lake Dunlap, the interconnect with ARWA has not been squared away yet. It's no emergency. We hadn't got to it yet. And then the strainer project, notice to proceed was September 1st. So that's another project that we're actually kicking off and moving forward. So that's a good thing. The emergency generator project, the contractor has ordered their material. It's long lead item, electrical gear. So that's going to take a little while to get. The big one I wanted to talk about, the Hayes Caldwell phase 1 improvements. The tank is leaking slightly. The way it was described to the committee was not a big deal. The contractor's used to it. However, they were proposing an interior coating to the tank, which was not originally in the job. Ms. Shield was all over that one. Did you get your meeting with Mr. Bobby to talk about that? Not yet. Can we make sure that gets squared away before the next committee meeting, please? And let's see, lastly, Wells Ranch, the well number 1 replacement, the final number was 1.93 million. It crept up just a little bit, and we're doing a land swap. Basically, the new area where the well is going to go, the landowner is going to give us that land. We're going to give him back the vacated land of the well. It's moved about 300 or 400 yards. If David's less than 200 feet, okay. I remembered wrong, but we had to move the side of the well slightly. So we're going to do a land swap, and we're going to pay for the surveying work on that, which was $8,700. And I'll have my notes cleaner next time. I apologize. That was my fault.
I'm just going to add that on this Reedville pipeline project, it hasn't all been me. I mean, it really has been Brud Brown and Texas Land and right away with, some work on my part, but it really has been the 2 of us. The joke between the 2 of us is he's the pest, I'm the pusher guy. And so between the 2 of us, we're getting it done. But he needs to be recognized too. Brud Brown and his guys.
Thank you, Brad. Okay. Go ahead, sir, for the board of managers report.
I'll just start off by recognizing the handsome Brud Brown for everyone, right? I mean, there is. So the board of managers reports in the board packet is relatively uneventful. For this last board of managers meeting, we had intended to do a tour of Lake Dunlap facility. We put that off because of the little problem we had at Wells Ranch that Carrie alluded to. I was able to visit Wells Ranch today. And I'd like to tell the board of trustees that, the most important thing Canyon Regional does is deliver treated water to us. And I can tell you, the folks I met out there working for Canyon Regional are some solid citizens. I mean, they work hard. They're led by Austin out there at that treatment plant. And they're doing a good job for us, right? And I think the value of getting the board of managers out to see all the treatment facilities is to, one, understand what we're looking at and approving in this room, but two, to talk to those guys that are doing the work and to really support them. And I think I had a great opportunity today. I got some good pictures. I can report to you that the line is, reconnected. It was the main 30-inch line that was coming out of Wells Ranch. It was down from about 10:30 today until about 5. I didn't stay there that whole time. No, I didn't. But I know Dave McMullen did. He was sitting here in his little folding chair and he was supervising the whole time. So it was a good time. I just want to report that to the board of managers. Next month, we will tour Lake Dunlap as a board of managers. Then we're going to tour, Wells Ranch. Then we're going to tour Hayes Caldwell. And I think that'll be helpful for all of us to get the same site picture. It was for me today. So I just wanted to pass that on to the board. Any questions for the board of managers? Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay. Item 8, general business. Discuss, consider, and take possible action on Resolution 2509-003, amending the Board of Directors admin policies to include a disbursement policy and a revision to the email policy. Again, I've got to apologize. Last month was completely my fault on the disbursement policy. I did not send Kerry the entirety of the disbursement policy. I sent him one paragraph of the 4-paragraph disbursement policy. I have now sent him everything. It's in your packet, completely on me, and I apologize that y'all are having to hear this a second time. We did have some discussion during this meeting last month where we talked about what's that comfort level we are with Kerry being able to expend funds. Executive committee thought the comfort level there was 100,000. We need y'all to look at that and concur. And if so, we've got that in the disbursement policy already. What that does is allow Kerry to execute checks without having trustee signatures up to 100,000, as long as they're a budgeted item. As long as they're a budgeted item. So you can't just decide to go buy a new car, for Canyon Regional. That's not a budgeted item.
So initially last month, when we first started talking about this disbursement policy, we had said $50,000. And then there was talk about the fuel costs.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of why we wanted to increase it, because we were told a lot of the fuel costs were at 60 or 70,000.
What's the chemical costs?
Or chemical costs.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
So that was why we decided to up it to 100,000 to cover any of those large bills that they have a couple times a month.
Brandon, I got a question. Does this conflict with any change orders? Is there a policy for change orders with the general manager? You have to go through the committee. I think it's construction committee. Is this in line with that? Is this less, more?
Yeah, you're right. There's a separate policy called the procurement policy that has very specific authorizations for the construction committee and for the general manager. In my mind, this doesn't necessarily conflict, as this is talking about budgeted items, not projects and change orders. In my mind, this doesn't give the general manager any different authority on a change order than what we have in a procurement
I
policy.
still have to go through that process. Okay.
Wait, so what we have on the agenda is an amendment to the admin policies. And part of that is the email policy. And so what you have in this resolution, if you make your motion and approve this resolution, is adding both of those items and revising the admin policy. Just wanted to point that out before you just approved and
That was going to be my
resolution.
question. I don't see the email policy in the packet.
Split it out.
I think that we can make a motion to approve resolution 2509-003 to only revise, to only include a disbursement policy and not the email policy.
That's what I said.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, so do y'all understand what we're doing here? We're amending the admin policy specifically for just the disbursement policy. That clear to everybody? So this resolution, before I sign it and say that it's good, we'll pull the email policy out of there. Okay, any questions on the disbursement policy? All those in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you all very much.
I will want to add though, we got to be careful that when we say things are ready to go in the packet,
They need to
that
be-
things are ready to go in the packet.
Yes, sir.
Because what if we didn't notice that and we've just taken action and we haven't reviewed something? That's our job to review these things.
Yes, sir.
So Carrie, take a special look at how you're getting these things put together, what staff's helping you put these things together, that we have accuracy. Because we've had Brandon's fallen on the sword for last month, but we've had a couple months of, little boo-boos here and there that we need to try to tighten up a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. If you can turn your mic on,
I didn't hear who seconded that. I just didn't hear.
Mr.
Okay.
Gibbs.
Understand. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, item 8B, discuss, consider.
Do we need to table the part about the email then?
We can table for next month if you'd like, or
I don't want, because we've passed that motion, granted for just a distribution. I don't want us to forget about the email, that we didn't do anything with the email. So we need to have it somewhere in the minutes. Are we going to table them?
The answer-
That portion?
The answer is yes, you should table.
Thank you. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to table the portion of item 8A in regards to the email policy.
Second.
I would like it on next month's agenda.
Third.
Okay. Does everyone understand the motion? Tabling the email policy for one last final month. If it's not there, Nick, it's got to die.
There you go.
Okay, if there's no more discussion on this item, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Ms. Schill. Motion passed. Okay. Item 8B, discuss, consider, and take possible action on resolution 2509-004, approving CRWA's investment policy. My understanding that this policy has not changed from the last year. We are required, as all of you are required as well, to approve the investment policy annually. You do not have to change it, but you do have to review it and approve it annually.
Mr. President, I would like to make some changes to the policy. Ready for
Sorry,
it?
I'm trying to get to it. Can you explain a section that you may want changed? How many changes do you have, Doris, if you don't mind me asking?
Quite a few, probably 4 or 5. Under Article 4, at the end of direct specific investment parameters for the investment public funds in Texas are founding in Public Funds Investment Act, at the end of that, put a semicolon and put and, then go on to say the interlocal cooperation or act chapter. Article 5, I don't find where the investment officers is a defined term, so I would like to add the general manager and finance manager appointed as an investment officers of the authority, and then paren here and after defined as the investment officers. Because you go out through the document and you refer to investment officers.
Aren't the investment officers appointed separately, or are they supposed to be written into the policy?
Can you bring 5.01 on the screen for everyone to see? Just in case those don't have it in front of them like we do. Just hide Gary out of the way there. 5.01, it's at top there. It's right there. Can you zoom in just a little bit more for some of the trustees? So this is a section Doris is asking to change to better identify who the investment officers of the authority are. The first sentence there, the general manager and finance manager are appointed as the investment officers of the authority. Doris, what did you want to add after that, after the word authority?
Paren here and after defined as investment officers, close paren, and then in the paragraph.
Yeah,
To make it a defined term.
the way I read it, Doris, is it is defining them as investment officers. The general manager and finance manager are appointed as the investment officers. So anytime you say investment officers later in the document, you would be talking about the general manager and finance manager, I would think. But
I would not write it that way, but if you wanted to.
So by adopting this, that we are simultaneously appointing those two.
Yeah, which is how they've been before. I mean, if there's language to clean up, to me, this says that they are the investment officer. So at any point when you say investment officers, you're talking about the general manager and a finance manager. But I'm just one person. If y'all disagree with that,
That's how I read it.
Always the way that I would write it in legal profession would be define it parentheses here and after investment officers.
So Brandon, for the sake of the board, I mean, Ms. Stubbe making a motion to not approve this, then we can have discussion because we're jumping into discussion. I mean, she has a claim and whether we need to take this and table it, you know, the question I will ask, and maybe Doris can help me with this is, when does this have to be approved? Does it have to be approved now or do we have time to go through whatever process? Because right now there is, I'm assuming she was going to motion and it was going to be a second. We're just discussing it. We're out of order here.
Well, I mean, I think technically then in that discussion, you've been out of order in the entire general business, right? We've had a discussion before, we've had a motion and second. If this board prefers to have a motion and second before we even start any discussion and we want to do that differently than we've done it for a while, I'm okay with it, but I don't want to flip flop between, we don't talk about items until after there's a motion and second sometimes, but then we just went through two items where we did that. So, yeah, you know, y'all tell me your preference here. I'm happy to conduct the meeting the way y'all want, that y'all find is the most appropriate way. I just want to make sure we're consistent in the way we do it is all.
No, we should be able to have discussion because it's difficult to make a motion when you don't have all your questions answered.
Okay.
You and Doris are going to meet to discuss the minutes, but you'll also discuss this?
Perfectly fine with it. Yeah, I have no problem. I don't think that we have to do this to answer your question today. I think that we can wait a little bit longer. I don't remember, I can't read the statute word for word from you, whether it said it's got to be the first part of your fiscal year or just sometime annually. So I think that we're perfectly fine here.
Okay, another quick question, thing that needs to be changed, in Article 8(2), it refers to certificate of deposits. Well, credit unions don't have certificates of deposit, they have share certificates. And I don't know what fully insured market funds, I don't know what kind of certificate they issue. If they issue CDs, probably not. That we'll need to investigate that. So
Okay. We'll
that's
look
a
at it.
reason for us to get together and.
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we table this item to allow Ms. Stebbing and Mr. Rohan to get together. I would ask that any adjustments to this that are suggested be redlined so I can see what changes are suggested to make sure I agree with them.
Okay. So we've got a motion and second. Do y'all understand the motion to table until next month? Table and red line?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So, do we have an entity that we rely on for training for the investment officers? The biannual training?
We've got to go through the public funds and that. Yeah, thank you.
Right. And they generally will either provide or suggest language for these policies. So when we're reviewing and redlining, I would recommend that we get with whoever our supporting entity is.
Okay.
To make sure we're not getting out there a little in front of the headlights.
So, yes, sir.
Brandon and board, I just wanted to add that the Public Funds Investment Act 2256 basically states the governing body of an investing entity shall review its investment policy and investment strategies not less than annually. That's all it says.
Yes, thank you. So we had a motion to table. If we're going to do this or for, you know, review with another entity, can we maybe have a more indefinite time period than just next month? We had a motion to table till October.
I don't think my motion was time specific.
Okay.
Right,
So it's
but
just
yeah,
table.
there's no reason you can't reach out to that entity tomorrow and tell them what we're looking at doing and saying, hey, what kind of time frame do we need? And if we can get it done by October, we get it done by October. If not, we do it in November.
I apologize, Nick. I thought it was a motion to table to next month.
No, there's
My fault. Any other discussions on this item? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. We will have this back later on after it's been reviewed. Okay, item 8C, discuss, consider, and take possible action on the request by County Line Sud for an amendment in CRWA's 2025 budget to County Line Sud's obligation to make payments towards Wells Ranch 3 project development costs, including groundwater lease royalty payments. We heard earlier in Harry's reports, I believe, that County Line and Maxwell both have said that the project's not going to be feasible for them on the Wells Ranch 3 project. County Line has asked for an amendment to this year's budget, not the fiscal year. Well, they've asked for the fiscal year 26 budget, but that's a later item. But for the fiscal year 2025 budget to be amended to show they aren't obligated to make those payments. As you look in the financial report, you may remember that we've got the accounts receivable and in the different items that may be in arrears, and that shows up for County Line. I think what they're asking here is for us to amend the 2025 budget so that it no longer shows up.
Brandon Maxwell also requested the 25 budget be amended to.
So as my understanding, it was only going to be the 26 budget, like moving forward from October 1st. Is that incorrect?
So we can't do the 25.
Y'all paid, y'all don't owe anything for 25. County Line didn't make payments for this fiscal year starting October 1 to 24.
Maxwell made payments.
You made payments, yes, ma'am.
Yep.
Mhm.
I make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve amending the 2025 budget. Do we have a second?
Just discussion.
We have a motion now. So now we need a second.
Second.
We have a second. Okay. Is there any other discussion on this item?
So do we have a board action by these entities or just, because all that's in the packet is a letter dated August 25th from, who's this one from? From County Line, and then a 2-sentence email from the 27th from Maxwell. Was there board action by their entities to dictate this?
So from County Line is board action.
And this is adjusting this current fiscal year stuff.
Yes.
That's correct.
And what are we adjusting it to?
We would, yeah, I would believe it's being adjusted to 0.
0.
Well, but the rest of CRWA's budget has to, if one line is adjusted to 0, other lines have to be adjusted to pick it up. So what is there somewhere that I don't see in here where that information is addressed?
That information is not addressed. To date, Canyon Regional has been absorbing those payments. There would be just a September left. Either Canyon Regional can, absorb all of it, or it would be reallocated to the other Hayes Caldwell members.
No.
I'm sorry, the other Well Branch members. I'm sorry. Or sorry, you can slap me around for that one. Or another thing we can do, that's really, we can either allocate to the other Wells Ranch members, CRWA can absorb it. Those are really the two options if this is approved.
If CRWA absorbs it, whatever money is being used to cover that, is that going to have to be monies that are replenished at some given point by other entities? Because it's not like the money just fell out of the money tree.
For that exact money to be replenished, I'm not certain. I'd have to, Joan's out this week, so she's not here with us. I would need her assistance in giving you a good answer to that.
So the challenge we have in front of us is we can leave it in the 2025 budget and just have it sit there for however long, and it just show up that County Line owes this money that we have no document to force them to pay back, or we can amend that out of the budget to show that they don't pay for it. That's kind of our two options here. I don't see this board taking action, and that's up to this board to try and go after this 2025 money without a document in place. You may remember the County Line asked us late last year to put a participation agreement in place to pass out a participation agreement, and then they would start making their payments again. That went out May. Thank you. I couldn't remember if it was earlier than that. That went out in May. County Line has continued not to pay, and they've elected not to be a part of the project. So it's either we don't amend the budget and the money just kind of sits there, or the board decides to take action at another point to try and recover it, or we amend the 2025 budget to show they don't owe it.
But if we leave it in the budget, then say 10 years down the road, somebody's looking at the budget and they say, oh, wait, County Line owes this money. And then tries to bill County Line again at that point. So we really need to take action on this, because I don't I mean, I don't want to sit, have a ticking time bomb, that can happen 10 years down the road.
And just recall, board, we brought this item to the board last month when we talked about the budget going forward. And what I heard our attorney say was basically amending the budget. All we're doing is asking to amend the budget. We haven't given no monies. There's no monies coming back for this particular instance, 2025. So you have nothing from us. You will get nothing from us. We don't have an agreement.
Okay, any other discussion on this topic?
So if it's gonna be taken out of the budget, it needs to be reallocated. Instead of the other entities having to pick up the tab.
No.
Well, and see that this is the incomplete nature of this particular agenda item is that I'm not disputing, and this packet is out of order and I'm having to flip around, the agenda packet is out of order and I'm having trouble following along here. But, there's $366,000 that is what's in question here. And I don't think, at least, I don't believe I would make a motion to pursue $366,000 against one of the member entities if they're not wanting to be party to that project anymore. But at the same time, we can't simply take $366,000 out of the budget without figuring out who is going to cover that amount.
It's open AR. Uncollected monies.
Right. So while we're taking an action to adjust it, why wouldn't we go ahead and take an action that's complete and do the other half of the?
Then you'd be going back,
Martin, will you turn your microphone?
because then you'd be going back an entire year and asking everybody to pay what wasn't paid.
Which ultimately is what has happened because some CRWA money paid it. And Ms. Frankie's point of where did that come from? The money tree. There's questions, and I just wish we could do a complete action to allow.
Where to reallocate the money to.
Right. And I don't know.
Not only that we amend it, how do we amend it? That's the part that's not defined.
Because if we take an action today, that's a partial action, in my opinion, we're still going to have to come back and talk about this again when we reallocate. I mean, we can't just, Sherry, you're my financial terminology expert. That's not me, but we can't just, swing money around in the budget that was not appropriated correctly and allocated correctly. Am I getting my point across? I'm not a financial expert, but I'm trying to
You're
make.
right. Every positive has to have a negative.
Correct.
And we're talking about a budget that is.
Martin, will you turn, I'm sorry.
We're talking about a budget that's going to be over in 3 weeks.
I don't think it's fair to ask the other entities to absorb that cost before, it was never something that we agreed to do in the beginning, and we didn't have the benefit of that, using that. Now, we could have let those leases go. We could have made other decisions throughout the year if that wasn't going to be something we kept up with. And so asking us to carry that burden as other entities, it would be myself, Green Valley, East Central, Springs Hill, on something that none of us budgeted for either, because we anticipated that in good faith, everyone was going to pay.
I think this sets a hell of a precedent if we pass this also.
Speaking on behalf of County Line, again, we're not going to pay. To be clear with that. If we need more time and figure this out, yeah, that's fine. The letter was sent as a response to the action taken at the last Board of Trustees meeting to warn everybody, to let everybody know we weren't moving forward. And we sent a letter prior to this budget that we weren't moving forward until it was an agreement. So for you to hold us to the fire is not genuine. But if you need more time to figure this out, that's fine. Understand the budget's going to be done in 3 weeks. I understand that. We just want to make a point that, again, this record, we don't want it being on our books.
Yeah.
We don't want it to show, and it doesn't have to have action today. Obviously there's other actions. We got to look at other decisions, but certainly, again, the notice was there. There was no agreement. We even asked the previous administration to get us an agreement. There was never an agreement. So for you to say here, and we're all fiduciarily responsible for our ratepayers, for me to pay something with no agreement is disingenuous. I will not do that. And I'm not going to pay this. So we can do whatever you want. It can be reflected on the books, but you're not getting no money from me. for this particular item and for 2026.
Yeah, to me, the time to take action on this was back in February, March, when we, first were made aware that the money was being withheld and wasn't being paid. I mean, we should have immediately just told them, no. I think anyone that shouldn't be paid should be dealt with pretty swiftly here with us and with as much force as we can possibly take. The problem we have here is there is no agreement for this. There is no participation agreement. We still have entities working on this project without a participation agreement and still remaining in crystal clear Springs Hill, Green Valley, and East Central that we're trying to take care of in a swift manner to make sure that we don't have this problem in the fiscal year 26 as well. And so that, to me, we should have been more forceful on this item earlier on this year, and we weren't, and here we are making a decision. So if at this point, if you want this item to be on a future agenda with more information, it fails when we take a vote. If you want it to move forward, it passes when we take a vote.
So there's another important note in the letter. It's requesting reimbursement for past payments towards the project. Do we have a figure that is associated with, or is that in the 366?
That's item 8E. So that's an item further on in the agenda.
Sorry, this thing is killing me.
It's up here.
Well, but the backup is online and it's out of order.
I don't think we can table this, move it on, because we got the motion.
We have a motion and second. We have to take a vote. There's no table. Is there any other discussion of this item? We ready to take a vote?
Can you do a roll call vote?
I sure can. I was planning on it because I figured someone was going to ask. Okay, let me get my list out here.
Can you restate the motion that's been made?
Oh, I'm sorry. The motion is to amend the fiscal year 2025 budget to remove County Line Sub's obligation for the Wells Ranch 3 groundwater lease royalty payments. Is that correct, Ms. Shield?
Is this 25 or 26?
And all projects. No.
Okay.
Do we understand the motion? Mr. Andrews?
No.
Okay. Keith?
No.
Mr. Gibbs?
No.
Mr. Poor?
No.
Mr. Ramos?
Yes.
Ms. Shield?
Yes.
Mr. Swin?
No.
Ms. Gonzalez? Mr. Gilbert?
No.
I'm a no. Ms. Steubing?
Yes.
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 Vaughn? Swanville?
Yes.
Ms. Ronville's a yes. Ms. Roberts?
No.
No.
No. No.
Final tally.
Mr. Gilbert?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Gilbert on the screen.
No.
No. Okay. Staff or count for the board?
I think there was 5.
I want to make sure we know whether
It's 3 here and 2 there.
Okay. Motion failed. Item 8D, discuss, consider, and take possible action on the request by County Line Sud and Maxwell Sud for an amendment in CRWA's 2026 budget to remove their respective obligations to make payments towards Wells Ranch 3 project development costs, including groundwater lease royalty payments. This is a similar ask, although this is a budget moving forward. You may remember County Line had mentioned this at the last meeting to discuss it. They do not want to move forward with the project. Maxwell has also sent an email saying that they don't want to move forward with the project starting in 2026. Making the amendment to the 2026 budget may cause a little bit of the same issues that y'all were concerned about with the 2025 budget. We don't currently have takers for that water at this point. We may have takers for that water that may end up paying for it. We just don't have an answer to that question right now. Ms. Frankie is correct. We also have the option to just drop those leases if we needed to as well.
Now, in reverse from the previous item, I'm in favor of this, and I'll make a motion that we accept this item.
Okay, so we have a motion to amend the 2026 budget that we passed last month to remove County Line Sud and Maxwell Sud's obligations for the Wells Ranch 3 project.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Is there any other discussion on this item?
Will there be an actual budget amendment showing the numbers and allocations and all that fun stuff? We need that.
Yes, sir, there will.
That'll be a separate budget amendment item that comes to us.
Because in
So
theory.
this is basically a motion to move forward and then come back to us with details.
This is a motion to remove Maxwell and County Line's obligation from the 2026 budget. It does not discuss allocating it amongst other people in any way, shape, or form. This,
Well, then I think this is an incomplete budget amendment.
Martin, I mean, my thoughts are, we agree that they can get out of it, and then staff can bring us back a few allocation pieces for next month, and we can decide which for the remaining pieces that are going to be allocated to, or whomever it is.
I 100% agree with what you said.
Yeah.
so we would be amending them from the budget, and we would not have an allocation for the budget side. We wouldn't have an income line yet. Again, my hope is that the other entities, we can either reach an agreement or we can drop the leases, whatever we may need to do so that we don't have these costs. But yes, that item can come up separately in a subsequent meeting. Will it be next month? Maybe, maybe not, maybe a few more months. But right now, the action you're taking is going to have an unfunded portion for this, because all we're doing is amending Maxwell and County Line. Do we understand the motion? Is there any other discussion on this item?
But I also think we're still, I agree with Martin, we're still not really, I mean, we're making a motion just to take them off of the budget. But then we, according to what your notes are here, we have 3 different options as to how we're going to replace that money, whether we're, right, whether we're going to allocate it amongst the rest of the entities, whether we're going to have CRWA cover that portion of it, or we're going to let these lose some of the water leases.
We have a meeting coming up.
On the 15th.
Yeah, I think you make a decision for that. I'll check.
Right.
Will you turn your mic on, please?
I know y'all can hear me.
Yeah,
Damn that.
We have a meeting coming up. Mike, what date was it? 15. And I think the 4 entities will discuss that with Canyon Regional, and we will pick the option that we want to bring back to the board for that actual budget amendment.
And I think that would be agreeable is if we have an end game to who's covering this money before we make a budget amendment.
I will say, I asked last month, for some official correspondence from the entities that wanted to pull out, and that's included in here. So credit, you guys did what I asked last month.
Exactly why I made the motion.
Right.
They
And this is
Swing us forward.
future funds that we're adjusting. So, I don't know, I'm
Starting in 3 weeks will be our new funds.
Okay. Any other discussion on this item?
Did we have a second?
We did, yes.
Okay.
Do we need a roll call on this item? A roll vote on this item?
Probably need to the motion because there's been discussion about other ways of proceeding since.
Okay, the motion is only to remove Maxwell and County Line's obligations for the Wells Ranch 3 lease royalty payments in the fiscal year 2026 budget. That's all it's doing. It is not reallocating that money. There will not be income associated with that. We will still have the expenses. They just will not be paid by Maxwell and County Line.
Worst case scenario. Worst case scenario. A 30-day notification. It doesn't please fit that what we chose to do, so.
Okay. We ready for a vote, or do we still have more discussion?
Can we at least amend the motion to say we're going to bring back the second part of this next month?
If Mr. Andrews wants to amend his motion, we can have him amend the motion in second.
You got to vote on the amendment.
Yes.
But I'll agree to your amendment if you take out the words next month. Because what if we don't come up with the answer within 30 days? In the future, if you want to make that amendment.
What if we just move forward with working on a budget amendment that removes these 2 entities from that portion of the budget? Because this verbiage says we're making a budget amendment, and this is half a budget amendment. It's not a complete budget amendment. And so if we're just agreeing as a board that we're going to move forward to get to that final budget amendment, I think that's a fair amendment to the motion. Can I say the word amendment anymore in this sentence?
Mr. Andrews, your intent of the motion was to amend the fiscal year 26 budget to remove Maxwell and County Line's obligation to pay for Wells Ranch 3. Okay. What they're asking is if you will put a timeline on it. I don't know if, obviously you're not comfortable with 1 month. If we start talking about 2 or 3 months, then really the motion that's on the table already kind of addresses a more ambiguous timeline for getting it corrected. So we can let his motion stand, or if you absolutely want a 1 month, we can ask him to make an amendment. Okay,
And by the way, I did not hear a second to Sherry's amendment, so there is no amendment on the table.
I think she was just asking at this point.
Right.
She was just asking.
So
Okay,
It's just Mike's motion.
any other discussion on this topic? We can take a voice vote and not do a roll call. If I hear enough nays, we'll take a roll call, okay? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Ayes have it. Okay. Let me see. We are on item 8E. Discuss, consider, and take possible action on a request by County Line Sud for reimbursement by CRWA of past payments County Line Sud made in connection with development. I think that might have meant with developing Wells Ranch 3 project, development Wells Ranch 3 project development cost, including groundwater lease royalty payments. I'll let County Line answer this so I don't misspeak on their behalf. It looks to me like their request is to be reimbursed what they paid in 23 and for 24. Thank you.
For 2 years, is that all you're asking?
I'm sorry. What
Was that all you're asking?
Yeah, that was all I was asking. I just wanted to make sure that I had it. You're asking to be repaid for what y'all paid fiscal year 24, fiscal year 23. Discussion on this topic. Does anyone want to make a motion for item 8E? Your mic doesn't work. You'll have to steal Mr. Fonville's.
Was there any type of verbal agreement when this first started as to why all these entities were paying in for those 2 years, and now all of a sudden we want out because you don't have a participation agreement? Just wondering, because I wasn't part of the board at that point.
The answer is that there was verbal understandings. The term agreement has legal significance. Mr. Ramos was very clear in the fact that there's not a contract. That cuts both ways. There's not a contract that lays out the obligations of any party toward any other party. That being said, that's the way that Canyon Regional has done business for decades. Traditionally, what has happened on these projects is the groups have gotten together, decided how they were going to proceed, entered into an agreement or at least discussions that are intended to lead to an agreement. And Canyon Regional advances project development cost with the understanding that it will be reimbursed when the bonds are issued. There was a reimbursement resolution that was adopted in connection with this project, but too much time has passed. So CRWA is not able to reimburse itself. And so those costs, some of the costs have been paid directly by entities. Some of the costs have been advanced by Canyon Regional. There is no legally enforceable or binding agreement by anybody to do anything, to pay anything, or to reimburse anything.
Well, then my other question would be, if this is agreed on, then the other entities, if they decide to just terminate the leases, they're going to come back and want reimbursement as well, since there's no signed agreements.
All the precedent. Yeah.
I
Mhm.
mean, so we gotta,
In the beginning, there was some discussion about an agreement, but it was kind of pushed back because we thought there was going to be a contract written pretty soon. And that was the reason we didn't do a participation agreement in the beginning. Just to kind of answer your question. So, and it's just kind of drug along.
Well, it's been through 3 different general managers now at this point. It started with the long-term general manager and went to Mr. Kaufman and is now with Mr. Everett. So the project's gone through some iterations.
This project started because.
Sorry, Randy.
Wow. Yeah, this project started because a couple of member entities were going outside of Canyon Regional looking for water because there was not a current water project to help with the need of the water at the time. And that's kind of where that got started. And Mr. Ramos was here at the time. And so he helped kind of catapult this one, getting it going. Yeah.
No, as a staff member. So
Right. But he was at Canyon Regional at the time, like as an employee at the time. So he kind of helped get that one going. But the timeline, we needed water by a certain time, and that's kind of how we were pushing to get the contract done. We weren't so worried about a participation agreement because we really thought the contract was going to be drafted at the time we were all going to move forward. So that, just to kind of answer your question, that's where that all started, or kind of how it all started.
Okay. Do we have a motion on item 8E?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
Ms. Stubing has seconded. Is there any other discussion on this topic?
And just for clarity, this is a motion to approve the reimbursement from
This-
previous years.
This is a motion to reimburse County Line for its Wells Ranch Street expenditures from fiscal year 23 and 24.
So I don't think that we should be reimbursing. They had plenty of opportunity to stop. And I think we're setting precedent that we shouldn't be setting. And I disagree with it.
Okay, are we going to do a voice vote, or do y'all want a roll call? Roll call. Okay. Mr. Andrews.
No.
Actually, let me get my columns here real quick so I don't have to rely so much on staff. Thank you. Mr. Steffen.
No.
Mr. Gibbs.
No.
Mr. Poor.
No.
Mr. Ramos.
Yes.
Ms. Shield.
Yes.
Mr. Schwinn.
No.
Ms. Gonzalez. Mr. Gilbert.
No.
I'm a no. Ms. Stubing. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Vaughn. Mr. Fonville. Was a no. Ms. Roberts, no.
No.
Ms. McDaniel's a no. Mr. Sherman.
No.
Ms. Frankie.
No.
Mr. Snipes. Okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Gilbert.
It's all right. No.
No, thank you, sir. I apologize for forgetting. I'm going to start out with you next time. If we have a next time. I'm sorry. We have
It was 15 to 4.
Okay, 15-4.
No.
Motion fails. Okay. Now, we will go into executive session. Please bear with me as I read through this. I will be quickly. Board of Trustees may meet in executive session to discuss the following items, if any, pursuant to Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, including where appropriate, sections 551071, 551072, 551073, 551074, 551076, 551084, 551089, and 418.183F of the Texas Government Code. All formal action will occur in open session. Item 9A, consultation with CRWA's attorneys concerning cause number 250782 CVE, City of San Marcos versus Canyon Regional Water Authority, County Line Special Utility District, Crystal Clear Special Utility District, Maxwell Special Utility District, and Martindale Water Supply Corporation, pending in the 456th District Court of Guadalupe County, Texas, pursuant to Section 551071 of the Texas Government Code. Deliberation, and then item B, deliberation concerning the employment, evaluation, and duties of CRWA's General Manager, Carrie Everett, pursuant to Section 551074 of the Texas Government Code. We will recess from open session, take a 7-minute break, be back at 7:50. Thank you. I try. I told y'all. We will return to open session at 8:41. We have item 10, the Board of Trustees may consider, deliberate, and act on the items discussed in executive session, if any. Item 10A is discuss, consider, and take possible action on the fiscal year 2026 General Manager's goals. I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve what was discussed in executive session.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Are we clear on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Ayes have it. Okay, future board member agenda items. So you may remember last month we discussed about when to hold the October meeting. CRWA staff, a number of other member entities are off on Monday, the 13th of October for Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day. I believe the staff reached out or looked publicly on your agendas to see when your meetings are held. And it looks like Tuesday, October 14th, there weren't any meetings. Is that a major conflict for any of you? Okay. Okay, so you do have a meeting.
Brandon, quick announcement. My apologies to the board, but I will be out of the country at the next meeting, so I will not be.
We don't know when the next meeting is yet, Ruben.
And you said October. You said October.
Sick that.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me
You don't
clarify.
work at the Hyundai plant, do you?
I-
No,
let me-
okay.
Let me clarify. I will be gone almost all of October, so it doesn't
Okay.
really matter what day you have.
Thank you, sir. I knew I just had to give you a hard time. Okay, so we'll be missing one if we do this Tuesday, October 14th. Is there another day that maybe we can make work that the challenge always becomes then it ends up on somebody's, and this is what we didn't want to happen is. Are you the only one unavailable? Is there anyone else unavailable? I assume if we try and change the date, we'll end up finding someone else who's unavailable. That's always been the headache in this meeting. Okay. Are we okay then with having the meeting Tuesday, October 14th? I thank you for your understanding. It has been difficult every year to get it moved. No, I don't believe so. No, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Not the whole month of October, though. Yeah. Oh, it's an easy agenda. We tabled everything this month, so. Okay. With that, everyone, again, thank you for your time. Sorry this is such a long meeting. A lot of dense topics here and appreciate your understanding and your good discussion. So we've got item 12 here, adjourning the meeting.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Good. All those in favor? Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. We're adjourned. Thank you again.